Wednesday is sponsored by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. They're here all season long. Listen every Wednesday through March for your chance to win tickets.
It's a wild Wednesday tomorrow. Couple 13-14 pass Common Man program. I didn't check the talkbacks yet. I'm hoping we received a handful of them. We won't be able to air them all if we got a couple 13-14. We'll listen to a couple of them regarding the topic today. We were looking for Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings, yay or nay. Mark Rosen will join us at 2. Still haven't gotten to the Timberwolves yet, though. I suppose there's a possibility we might talk about it in 5-3-4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the Wolves.
I'm hungry like Common. Leftover chili.
The Wolves' 8-game winning streak ended last night as they lost to the Indiana Pacers 132-130 in overtime at Target Center. Anthony Edwards scored 38 points, but was just 1 for 11 on threes, including a fadeaway 3 he missed at the buzzer of regulation. Pacers forward Obi Toppin hit the game-winning 3 with 3.5 seconds left in OT. The Wolves have now missed their last 11 game-tying or go-ahead shots in the final 10 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime. Common, any concerns about the Wolves' struggles in the clutch?
Well, we don't have a clutch gene is what we don't have, and we don't have Obi Toppin. Remember when all I wanted to do was draft Obi Toppin back in 2020? Well, I really didn't know anything about him. I just liked the name Obi Toppin. Yeah. I probably had some bit about there ain't no stopping. There ain't no stopping. Obi Toppin. Of course, had they selected Obi Toppin, we wouldn't have Anthony Edwards because he was in the same draft. So I guess I missed that one, Tennessee. But Obi was, we could call him Obi-Wan Kenobi Toppin. There's so many different ways to go with it. He was really good last night. I saw the highlight of the game winner from the corner, one of those where like a catch and shoot where he's fading away. It seemed like he was even behind the basket, deep in that corner, made a nice shot. Ant was awful from three-point range. The coach basically said we were just wild and out of control late in the game. And, I saw the quotes you had brought up when I was talking about the Wolves losing to the undermanned Indiana Pacers. The team we're pursuing, the team that's in the 6th spot right now, and you want to avoid 7, 8, 9, 10, so you don't have to do that play-in nonsense, is Golden State Warriors. They lost to an undermanned Denver team last night. And I saw the quotes from Kerr in his news conference where he said something to the effect of, that's how it is in this league. These other guys, they never get to play, right? Mm-hmm. So they come out and it's like, if you disrespect them, and there's a quote we'll get to later, and I think it's from, I don't know if it's Conley or Randall or who it is, but somebody on the club basically said, when you disrespect the other team in that way, they're just the backups. We can toy with them. Those guys, it said it was in Johnny Krasinski's piece. I don't remember which player it was, but it was another quote that wasn't included in Fish Wrap West that said, these are guys that are playing for contracts and stuff for the following year. You brought that up before too. It's like, I got to shine right now. Mm-hmm. This might, if I don't play well here when I get an opportunity to play, I might not get another deal. I might have to go overseas and play or go to San Jose where I'll be parking cars and pumping gas, right? So, and they didn't take it serious enough, even though they got back into the game and they let it get away. So it's just a disappointing loss, especially after Golden State loses. You'd have a leg up on them, and there's still time. There's plenty of games to go. Against some weaker opposition. What, you got like 12 games left, 11, 12? But that's a disappointing loss.
Question number 2.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
Meanwhile, here's a team that never quits. Talk about back against the wall. It's going to be rubbing little hockey gloves together, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Wild beat the LA Kings 3-1 last night at the X, their second win in their past 6 games. Ryan Hartman, Matt Zuccarello, Marcus Johansson scored the goals. Philip Gustafsson made 28 saves. The win gives the Wild an 8-point cushion over St. Louis and Vancouver in the West. Common, what sticks out to you from last night's Wild win?
Nothing more than the win. Then we keep battling and battling and battling without. We're still missing three of our best players: Caps, Eck, and
Brodeen. And Marcus Foligno didn't play last night as well.
I saw that.
Upper body injury.
So you're missing key players. You're scratching and clawing. It's sort of like temporary layoff to permanent playoff. It's like PA. Scratching and surviving. Good times. Easy credit ripoff. And that's what they're doing. And so that's good to see. You have any thoughts on what you saw last night? You're following the Wild more closely than I am. What's your takeaway?
Well, I talked about this with Kevin Fallness on KFAN Wild Weekly. You'll be able to hear that at 7 o'clock tonight. The beginning of the broadcast last night, Wes Walz was the analyst, and, they bring up a graphic for Walsey's watch, and it was need to play with more desperation. And I thought that's what was missing. I agree with Walz. That's what I thought was missing Saturday night against St. Louis. The reason they beat Colorado last week is they recognize, all right, this is the skill set we have. This is the talent we currently have on our current roster construction. And so, they can't take a shift off because they're just not skilled enough at this very moment to do it. And I was pleased with last night. I thought the desperation returned. The story right now is the goaltender. Philip Gustafsson is, with no Kaprizov in the lineup, is their best player right now. He has been terrific. He has given them a chance every single night, and he made some huge saves last night. And they're playing a style of hockey right now, which is they're defending a lot more. They're trying to keep everything to the outside in their own zone, and they're counting on their goaltending to make big saves, and that's what Gustafsson's doing. So as hard it is to watch them offensively right now, because they are struggling, thankfully they're good enough defensively, and their goaltender has been terrific and giving them a shot. And now, I think they got 14 games to go, and they've got an 8-point lead on both Vancouver and St. Louis. They need two teams to leapfrog them. So it would take a pretty epic collapse for them to not make the playoffs. But given their goal scoring issues,
right,
they are capable of an epic collapse, because this has been quite the trend now. There's been every game now. It's like they're fighting just to get 2 goals on the board.
We started the show today talking about quotes from Steve Kerr, Golden State Warriors head coach, who says one of the biggest problems right now is Steph is tired. And I think you've been lacking a little bit in your performance, so I offered you some time off as well. I don't know. What do we do for Wild analysis when you're gone? Can you call in from wherever you are, or maybe just leave a voicemail or something? Because
Max can give good Wild.
Hey, can he? Okay.
Yeah, he's great with the Wild.
Because even with you gone, I'm not going to watch the Wild to make up for it. I'm just not going to do it.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, get to the Western Conference Finals, get back to me. But I think you summed it up quite nice. I agree with everything you said.
Question number 3. And now it's time to go in the trenches.
Oh, yeah.
I love when, I know that you love when I bring up Coach Prime. Colorado coach Deion Sanders wants the NCAA to consider borrowing from the NFL model and allow programs to practice and scrimmage against other teams during the spring. Coach Prime said, quote, "I would actually like to play the spring game against another team in the spring. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I would like to style it like the pros. I'd like to go against someone in practice for a few days, then you have the spring game. I think the public would be satisfied with that tremendously. I think it's a tremendous idea. I've told those personnel who should understand that it's a tremendous idea." And he brought this up at a press conference yesterday. It didn't take long for Sanders to find an interested party. Syracuse head coach Fran Brown posted a social media platform X offering for the Orange to come to Boulder for 3 days. Under current NCAA bylaws, football teams cannot play against another school in the spring. Common, do you like Deion's idea of playing another team for spring games, and should the NCAA change that rule?
Deion thinks his idea is a great idea. Just ask him. That's my best part of that. It's brilliant, he said.
Yeah, he's talking about how his own idea is a tremendous idea.
Yeah, what's next? Paying players? Oh, wait, they're doing that already. I don't care if that's what they want to do, if they think that enhances the product and helps develop the players and the programs. Yeah, I don't know what a difference it would make. Does it really make much of a difference? I don't know, but I'm not opposed to it.
I think you get more eyeballs on the product.
You probably would.
As of right now, I have zero interest in the Gopher spring game, unless it's during noon to 3 on a weekday. Then I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. Other than that, I'm never going to pay attention to it. I don't think It's the old, you've talked about this before, if the offense scores a 75-yard touchdown against the defense, was that a great offensive play or was that a bad defensive play? Like, you can just never tell. So if they played Colorado, if they played anybody else outside the Big Ten, like, I would maybe be curious and tune in.
Let me ask you a question.
You'd sell more tickets.
If they played their spring game against Coach Prime, you'd be rooting for Colorado, wouldn't you?
No comment. I really like PJ Fleck. Coach Prime's going to be terrible now that his son Shador is going to the NFL anyways. They're going to be terrible in Colorado.
You like rowing the boat, Sky Yuma? Go Gophers. There's 5, 3, 4. We'll come back.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
When we come back, I'll review my lunch at about 1:30. We're going to see. I'll check right now during this break and see if we have some talkbacks regarding Rodgers, yay or nay, and we'll dive a little deeper into the Wolves and some of those comments I saw after the game from the locker room. And then Mark Rosen at 2 o'clock right here on The Fan.
Minnesota Wild for Mental Health Awareness Night on March 19th. Get your special ticket pack for an unforgettable game against Seattle, a pregame event with speaker Mark Wick, and support a great cause. A portion of each ticket sold goes to the Ranch Teammates for Life nonprofit. Don't miss out. Make a difference and cheer on the Wild. Full details available at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
I dropped a Frito on the floor to be beneath me, and I have a question for you. What do you think is more cleanly? The floor beneath my feet here in Studio A, 1600 Utica Avenue South, or the restroom floor of an Arkansas truck stop?
Very similar.
I think they're very similar. I'm not eating that Frito. I'm a 5-second rule guy at home. Something drops on the floor. If I scoop it up right away, I don't think it's going to, all of a sudden, it's just going to, bacteria is going to be all over it. Virus, whatever. But here, not a chance.
There's also a difference in the type of floor, right? Like if you have like a hardwood floor of some sort, compared to that, I don't know what you'd call those, like rug tiles. I don't know, carpet tiles. I don't know what those are.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's a little different. In what it keeps in compared to like a wood floor.
Quick phone call from Bid Analyzer Guy. Bid Analyzer Guy, what's up?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Brilliant radio as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I thought so too.
No problem. Yeah, the Kevin McHale big man camp bit is fantastic as always. It just brought me back. I mean, I'm a lifelong Minnesota sports fan. I live in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I've lived here my whole life, Minnesota, North Dakota, right here, and listened to you guys for a long time. And I just want to say, in all seriousness, it's absolutely incredible that a Minnesota sports team has not won a championship since 1991. We're talking about almost 35 years, and I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. But, in my lifetime, like I was 10 years old or so when the Twins won it, and the Vikings, of course, almost 65 years into their existence, they've never won it. Every time we have the opportunity to maybe win something with a big player, they get injured. Kaprizov is out. The Timberwolves are a mess most years. It's just really unbelievable. But with all of that being said, I just want to say that I think the Vikings have the best chance to maybe break the Minnesota sports curse. Even when they had Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss, and we've had lightning in a bottle a couple of years, they've never had the combination of owner, coach, and potentially players now to actually be able to get it done. So I'm not counting my chickens. I'm certainly not placing any bets on the Vikings to win the Super Bowl anytime soon. But, when we're talking about the subject of inept, incompetent, and frustrating sports teams, maybe the Vikings are the best of the bunch. I don't know what you think about that.
Thanks, Bid Analyzer. I think it was well said. I do. I mean, we had this question just within the last year, going into the, we ask the question all the time. 10 people having 5-3-4 sometimes. It'd be, which of the 4 men's major sports teams in Minnesota have the best chance to win a world championship? And it does. I mean, going into this year, it kind of seemed like the Wolves, right? Now, that was before the Big Meow trade, and that's not to suggest they can't do it without Bodega Cat. But at the time, we're running it back. It looked really good. Vikings we're going to try a Sam Darnold at quarterback, so they may be okay, but at times it seems like it's been, I suppose sometime in recent memory we thought maybe the Wild would, but it seems like I would say the Vikings. I don't think there's any question, especially after their season last year, and then the moves they've made this year on the offensive and defensive line. I would tend to agree with that. Would you?
I think the point he brings up that I agree with, and I know you've been making fun of everyone calling Kevin O'Connell the quarterback whisperer. I do have a higher level of confidence in KOC than the vast majority of coaches we've had here, right? Like, even when the Vikings went 0-9, did anyone think like Brad Childress was some genius head coach?
Yeah.
Mike Zimmer had a good run, and I think we thought he was a great defensive coach, but it's not like he was an overall, like we thought, man, this is some genius head coach that we've got one of the best. I do think we potentially have one of the best coaches in all football in Kevin O'Connell, and I get it. If someone's going to text right now, well, he's terrible in the playoffs. He's never won a playoff game.
What's his record in the playoffs, Teneby?
0-2.
Okay, just checking.
But he's also taken two teams that I thought were pretty mediocre and turned them into 13-4 and 14-3, and got them to the playoffs to begin with. Two teams that I did not have high expectations for, and now to bit analyze the guy's point, like they are actually starting to build the roster a little bit. They're not building them with as much youth as I would like, but like,
and we can build this thing together.
Kwesi showed last year that he was great. He was great in free agency. He might have a little bit of what's that Moneyball thing that they use in for Oakland.
Yeah,
like he might have a little bit of like NFL Moneyball to him, where he knows this guy for this salary fits here. Obviously, and it's not even just the head coach too. Like I think B-Flow is a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. Like it's got to be our best combination of offensive coach and defensive coach that I've ever seen with the Vikings. Maybe going back to the 98 days. So the combination of confidence in the coaching, it appears, and we won't see until it gets on the field, but it appears as if he's having another good round of free agency. As long as, if J.J. McCarthy is the guy, and that's still a big if, but if he is the guy, like you're looking at 5 to 8 years of a quarterback head coach combination that, hey, we should have an open run here where we have a chance every single, like, it's like the Patriots. It's like the Skatriots.
Vicriots. Can we say Vicriots? Vikings, Vicriots?
Sure.
Vicriots. I remember somebody suggested that with the Wild when we made that.
No idiot would ever say that.
No, they saw that we were going to compete first. We might not win a lot of them, but we were going to be in contention to go to Stanley Cup final after Stanley Cup final. With
they were making the playoffs every year at least.
They were indeed.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not hard to make. It's harder not to make the playoffs than it is to make the playoffs, I think. But you're right. No, I tend to. I was extolling the virtues of what I think the club has done as well. I like the moves they've made. They had a terrific season last year. Again, so much of it's going into pen. I tend to agree with what we played a soundbite from Schefter. He was out with Maccabee, where could Rodgers end up in Minnesota? Yes. Is it likely? Probably not. I don't think it is either. I don't think they will. I think they'll decide. It's the old, it sounds good. It's tempting, right? When you think of, go back to the Favre thing, right? Could you duplicate that with Rodgers? But then but like the one text messenger said, and I think he summed it up pretty well, that Favre was more just, shucks, good old boy wanting to play football, where Rodgers he's a Richard, he's Richard Rodgers. And so I just don't know if he fits here. But man, it's tempting to think, God, what if he was able to, the thrilling days of yesteryear, and play like he was capable of with the team that he's got around him?
With a 14-3 team that appears to have gotten better,
yes,
at least outside of the quarterback position.
Exactly. And so that's where you kind of, I think it's tempting, and that's why, if indeed they have thought about it inside those walls, I can see why they thought about it. Can you?
Sure.
They at least considered it. I don't think you can just totally dismiss it offhand.
They have a team that should be able to win now.
Yes.
So if Aaron Rodgers is still a win now quarterback, I don't know if we can count on that.
That's the other big question: is does he have anything left? We'll listen to a few talkbacks on the side of the break going into it. Teneby is going to talk Wild.
Yeah, this Wild Today brought to you by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. It was another low-scoring game last night for the Wild, but Zuki came through in the clutch.
Out of the goal line, Boldy. Matt Boldy, cross ice, Zuccarello, left circle. Fire the shot. He scores! Matt Zuccarello! With 4:38 to go, the Wild have a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, Joe Donnell with the call last night right here on the Fan. Matt Zuccarello scored a power play goal with 4 minutes and 38 seconds to go as the Wild beat the LA Kings 3-1 at XL Energy Center. It was Zuccarello's 100th goal with the Wild. Ryan Hartman deflected in the tying goal. Marcus Johansson sealed it with an empty netter. And Philip Gustafsson was good again in net, stopping 28 of 29 shots. Gus is 3-1-1 in his past 5 home games with a 1.76 goals against average and a .937 save percentage. Wild are now 8 points up on 8th place Vancouver and 9th place St. Louis. Wild play Game 6 of their 7-game homestand tomorrow night when they host the Seattle Kraken. That was Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795.
Man.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
So we're broadcasting live from the cozy confines of the climate-controlled 651 Carpets Plus studios. Go to 651 Carpets Plus and schedule your free in-home estimate today. Be the right club today. Hal Sutton. That was part of the theme of Live from all week last week, because it was 25 years ago when Hal Sutton defeated Tiger Woods. He stared him down in the Players' Championship. He's on 18, 72nd hole. And as he hits the shot, he goes, be the right club today, meaning not tomorrow, not yesterday, not next week or next year. Be the right club today. And it was the right club that day. So then all week, Johnson Wagner, former player with the big bushy mustache, he does a lot of on-course stuff for him. He tries to replicate shots that other players have hit that week. So he tries to replicate the Hal Sutton shot at night, shanks it 60 yards right, and they cajole him into convince him to hit another one, and he hits it even further right. He says, I'm not hitting a third. Though he did... in the he did the shots on 16, that one from Sunday when Rory had a chance over in the little collection area over there to get it up and down, and he didn't. He hit it. It kind of caught him. So he hit it from where Rory hit it, and he hit one from where Sponzi hit one, because even though they were only about 5 feet apart, one was downhill, one was uphill. He hit him better. He hit it better than Rory's, but he didn't hit it as good as Spawn, because Spawn was right next to the cup. But it was fun. But so they had all week. They had a lot of guys.
Good bet.
Yeah, and they also had a lot of guys on tour go out to the same spot where Sutton hit his shot. Obviously no pressure, just sitting out in the middle of the day. Hey, we're here with JT. JT, what are you going to hit? 7 above. And then as the ball's on the way, they would all go, be the right club today. And then most of them would hit it pretty close, so because they all got a lot of talent. Talk-a-back, great feature on the Fan. Download the iHeartRadio app. Search stations, find the Fan, microphone icon, corner of the screen, tap it 30 seconds or less to deliver us an audio message. The question today was, Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings, yay or nay? Let's go ahead, Tenneby, and run a couple of these text messages or these talkbacks.
I honestly don't think that it's a good idea for Aaron Rodgers to come to the Vikings, because like everybody's been saying, he's going to want to be a starter. He's going to want to do his own thing, and this is JJ's time. JJ needs to shine. It's his team now. Let JJ run with it. Paul from Mankato, Minnesota.
So there's Paul from Mankato. Here's our next 10 to be. Let's see what this one has to say. Wrong one. I just did that one. Here's what the one.
I love it when Minnesota Vikings fans say they're not going to watch the Vikings if Aaron Rodgers becomes quarterback. You know dang well if the Vikings end up 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, those same fans are going to jump on the bandwagon and start watching them. It's no different if the Vikings become 0-2 and 0-3 and 0-4, the fans will stop watching them. That's Minnesota sports, that's Minnesota fans, and it would be no different if JJ was the quarterback. Thank you.
I tend to agree. People would jump on the bandwagon and go, well, I really didn't want Aaron here, but I'll begrudgingly jump on that bandwagon.
I don't think they'd wait till 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. I think that'd be first drive.
Right.
Rodgers leads it down throws a 55-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. They'd be on it right then.
And you could hear Bursich going, now you're seeing what a sophisticated quarterback, Aaron! Right? And then, of course, first preseason game, I've seen enough of Rodgers, PA, put him on ice.
He doesn't play preseason games.
Oh, that's right.
I love it when Minnesota Vikings fans say they're not going to watch the Vikings.
I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Here's the next one. Ready?
Max from Egan here. I know everybody's blood pressure rises when they just think of the color green, but I'm not afraid to say that Aaron Rodgers would certainly be a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy. I mean, we're talking about a future Hall of Famer here. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's as bad as an idea as people think. If you can make Sam Darnold, who was absolutely horrific, be pretty good, I think you can make Aaron Rodgers be a solid option as well. That's all I got to say. Goodbye. Thank you. See you later.
So there's a pro Rodgers. Here's another. See what what Jim says.
Hi, Common. This is Buzz from Bloomington.
Oh, Buzz. Hi, how are
And
you?
as far as Rodgers goes, my thinking is it's either the purple or retirement. He is not going to Pittsburgh because he knows Tomlin will not put up with any of his shenanigans. He's going to bench him when he gets out of line. So here's to hoping he's on a mystical journey through Thailand at this time next year. Bye.
Our first stop is Bogota.
Jim from St. Paul, talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings. Let's do it. Let's get him going. Aaron Rodgers needs the Vikings more than the Vikings need him. So I would say he is willing to comply. And so he doesn't have anybody like how he did at the Jets. He can't control anybody on the Minnesota Vikings staff. So let's get him going. Let's get this Super Bowl. Skol.
Yeah, Skol. Let's go.
Let's Skol.
Let's Skol. Oh, I like that. Have we ever thought of that before?
Rodgers, Jefferson, KOC. Let's Skol.
We could make a T-shirt like that. We could sell it right next to my book and your tarp shooter.
Hey, Common. Just wanted to get your take on this. I heard Mark Rosen has been saying for years that he knew Aaron was going to be a multi-time MVP, even back when he was at Butte Community College. I heard he saw him throw a screen pass at JUCO, and he knew then that he was going to be he's going to have that it factor. Just wanted to know if you've heard of that before.
Yeah, he had his eye on Aaron Rodgers well before anybody else had their eye on Aaron Rodgers. Here's one.
Hey, Common, Ryan in Michigan. I know I'm in the minority, but I'm all for giving Rodgers a shot. One last dance to get us to the Super Bowl. And I know there's some doubters, but I think maybe on the first home game, we have him lead the team out on the field. Maybe give him an American flag to wave around. There won't be a dry eye or a doubter left in the house. Skol, me boy.
Yep. Let's Skol. Here's another.
Hey, Common. Hey, Tenna. My thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, I'm a little bit torn, but I'm leaning towards no. I'm torn because if he does still have good football left to play, I can only imagine what he'd do with this revamped line and all of our weapons on offense. But at the same time, put all the political stuff aside, he did not look good for the Jets last year. The Jets didn't look good, and I'm worried about what he would do to a really good culture that KOC has developed in this locker room with all of these guys.
Yeah, there's that too. I had one more, and I got plenty. I mean, we could do this till the end of the Grum today. This is the one I really like, though. Let me see.
Sign Aaron Rodgers.
No, that's not the one. Well, we'll play it anyways.
Sign Aaron Rodgers. Sign or trade for one or two more running backs to fortify the running back stable and rotation. move Oli Udo to fullback to rotate with CJ Ham. Do you like parades? And we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
I always love
Oli
that one.
Udo. And here, I really like this one.
Hi guys, Max from Egan here. I don't really care if Aaron Rodgers comes here or not. However, I do think it would be quite hilarious to see him come here and prove PA wrong. Every time PA talks about him, he gets all fired up, thinks there's no chance of him coming here, and he talks about it for about hours at a time. It would be quite comical to zip his mouth a little bit.
I always love
all right,
that.
have a good one. See y'all.
I think that would be delicious, wouldn't it? How fast do you think PA changes his take? I mean,
immediately.
Almost instantaneously, right? He would say, I text and talk with more people at Winter Park than most people know, and I've been given some assurances, and I'm convinced Aaron still could be the guy. Oh, yeah, he would change it instantly. Because if you remember, he was very bitter about Zim being let go.
Yeah.
And then they had a horse divorce.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the horse divorce.
I always love that one.
That was it. So there you go. There's some talkbacks. We do appreciate it. Well, we'll start utilizing that more often. That's good. What we like is, I was talking to somebody about the radio business, and says, none of the shows take that many calls anymore. It's not we don't like to hear from the listeners. It's sometimes copyright warrant. They get a bit long, and sometimes they do. It takes them a while. With the talk back, man, it's a quick 30 seconds. They know it. They get to the point. Those were all really good. They were well spoked. They had some good reasoning to them, especially the Oli Udo. Moving him to fullback, I think, was a really good idea. So we do appreciate your contributions to the Grum today. I promise we talk a little Wolves basketball, particularly some of the quotes that come out of the locker room, because those are the ones that that's the part of the games that interest me the most, the gamer stories. Wolves lose last night. They'd won 8 in a row. They hadn't lost in the month of March. Since Julius Randle's return from being injured, I think they were like 11-0, or I don't know what their record was. They hadn't lost a game in ages with Julius Randle in the lineup. They lost for the first time in March to an Indiana team that was without their starters, Halliburton, Pascal Scrim, Miles Turner, and Aaron Nesmith. Jerry Zagota wrote the story for Fish Wrap Factory West Side. It says Timberwolves' winning streak ended at 8 games Monday night at Target Center with a 132-130 OT loss to depleted Indiana. Same team that hadn't lost since Feb 28 finally succumbed to the Pacers. Forward Obi Toppin. Obi-Wan Kenobi Toppin, who made 7 3-pointers, including the winner with 3.5 seconds left. Toppin scored 34, was 7 for 10 on threes, including 4 made in the final 3 minutes of OT, while Wolves star Anthony Edwards scored 38, was 1 for 11 on his threes. This, to me, is proof positive. I was right. The Wolves should have drafted Obi Toppin instead of Anthony Edwards.
I always
in a head-to-head meeting, Obi 7 for 10 on 3-pointers. Edwards 1 for 11.
Obi topped him.
Oh, Obi. Blah, 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 blah. In Monday's second game of a back-to-back set, Wolves trailed an opponent missing 4 starters by 15 points in the second quarter. They then led by 8 early in the fourth, by 2 with 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and by 5 points with 66 seconds left in OT. So near, so far. But they couldn't put the game away against the Pacers, who now have won 3 of 4. Here's what Dante DiVincenzo said. This is why the Wolves live rent-free in my head. They just played harder. The one thing you can control in basketball, more than anything else, is your effort level. If you try really hard, the other team can't try harder than you if you try your hardest. They might be better and accomplish more. Someone's going to have to win the game. You should never, ever, ever lose a game because the other team tried harder. Why aren't more people annoyed by? Why does the basketball committee and the Wolves fan base, community and the fan base not care about that? They seem to just roll their eyes, shrug their shoulders, shake their head. That's the NBA. That's the way basketball is. They just played harder. They had a lot of guys out and they came out and competed. They had a chip on their shoulder and we didn't. We started playing when we were down 15 points. He did add, that's no excuse. So when he says they played harder than us, I'm assuming DiVincenzo played hard. I'm thinking he probably did, but because you don't want to throw everybody individually under the bus, so you kind of lump yourself in, but maybe he didn't try hard either. Here's Mike Conley. We walked into the game a back-to-back. We've done that before. We have to be prepared for games like this. These Indiana guys are really good players. They don't always get the opportunity they did tonight, but they all can play, and you have to respect that. When you don't respect the game, that's when guys like that get confident. They get good looks, and they play regardless of who they are playing against. They beat us and did all the things they needed to do. We have to be prepared for games like this, which they've said over and over and over again because they continue to lose to the Utahs of the world. And, you know, Indiana's got a winning record. That's a quality club. They'll make postseason play. But when you're that's where, you know, and again, look, I get it. I know what Rosen will say when is he there? Is he in the studio? No. I know what he'll say. Well, look what Golden State did. They did the same, always doing the comparison as if, well, and it's like, we're not talking about Golden State.
We call that whataboutism.
Yeah. What about
this? What about that?
But we're not talking about, we're talking about what's going on right here. Golden State did do it last night. Now, their coach says it's because their star player's exhausted, but we say it's because we didn't try hard. One guy's exhausted from all the effort he's given. I guess I can accept that. They just tried harder than we did. Not an excuse, but they tried harder than us. And then there's Finch. At the time we had the chance to take control of the game, it was wild. A series of contested threes, deep bomb threes, just playing too fast, almost out of control. There's just no need for that. There's a lot of ways to close out a game. It's not just making game-winning shots. That's what we've not been able to do all season long. In that moment, we have to have composure and the ability to take control of the game, and we didn't. And is that directed mostly at Ant, do you think? Or is it everybody? I think Ant tends to do that because, and I get the position he's in, every team is supposed to have, you'd like to have a couple of go-to guys, right? Like back in Golden State's days, the reason they won 4 titles, they had 2. They had the Splash Brothers.
Well, for a while, they had 3.
And they had
with
3.
Durantula, yeah.
Right. But for sure, for that time, they had, and you're right, even for instance, they had 3 guys that they could count on to make a shot. And the Wolves have other guys that can make shots, but you don't think of some of the, like the McDaniels is and the Nazes is.
The Goberts
is. Maybe Randall, but when you think of the Wolves, who's going to take the game-winning shot? It's Ant. And, you know, there was another quote that I saw, I think it was in the Johnny Krasinski piece in The Athletic, where he said, might have been Conley, but somebody was talking about how Ant probably gets tired by the end of the game too, right? I mean, when, you know, in an individual game, I don't buy the being tired game after a game, that you go to the next game and you're just exhausted. You can barely lace up your sneakers. I can see where you can get tired in a game, especially if in Ant's position. I'll give him this. He's being double teamed. He's trying to find a way to get himself open, right? Trying to find a way to do step backs or take it to the bucket. So he's working hard. And it was a couple of games ago where he talked about how he's getting so much better at reading the defenses and doing what's available to him, and that is being a distributor a lot of the time. He talked about earlier in the year he didn't like doing that. He said, I'm young, I like to score. But if they're not giving it to you, it's a team concept here. You just because you want to score and be on the ESPN highlight reel, you got to, if they're taking you out of the game offensively, then there's got to be somebody open. And sometimes I think Ant takes it upon himself because he is that guy. He's arguably the best player on the team. He's one of the best players in the league. So he's got to be the guy to take that shot, and maybe by the end of the game.
He hasn't been good at taking that shot, though.
And he hasn't.
I wish I had I saw a tweet last night that showed like his stat. Like he's literally one of the worst, statistically worst in the NBA right now in clutch time shots. Those shots, last 10 seconds of regulation, last 10 seconds of overtime.
Right.
When it's a one possession game, he's only hit like one of
Yeah.
It hasn't been good.
And maybe you're right. Maybe he's not that guy. And could it be because part of it, you don't have his fresh legs because of how hard he does work all game? Because you're expecting him to play defense too, because he's generally playing, my guess is, and I'm not watching.
Everyone who's been in, had to make those clutch shots before is in the same boat.
No, I know, but I'm just offering up that he could be tired. So Conley could be right. So maybe they need to have more contributions from other players. Maybe some of these other players need to step up. I don't know. But you're right. And there have been players over the years that they play 110% all game and they're still able to make the shots late in the game. So your point is well taken. But I don't know. That's just it's a horrible game again. And I know there are some that feel the Wolves don't have any team to fear in the West. I don't agree with that. I think there are clubs that could give them trouble. Could the Wolves, I guess, beat anybody in the way? Yeah, I guess once it starts, we'll find out. But that was pretty disappointing last night to get that kind of.
They just seem to play down to their level of competition. They play up to their level of competition as well.
Yes,
but it seems like whenever they have a lot of times when they have games they should easily win. I wonder how many of those games they've given away this year against just bad teams in the league.
Do you think that's probably part of the reason your performance sometimes is poor because you're working with me?
100%.
Yeah.
I would exactly threat. You use that excuse all the time when you play golf with me and you have a bad round. You say, well, it's because I was watching you play golf all day.
That's what it is. And that's why from now on, when I'm going to play with you, I'm going to stop at Attack and Saddle Shop and get those horse blinders. And this way I'll never have to take a look at you. Maybe that's what I need to do. We'll see what the legendary one thinks. Mark Rosen, he's in Master Control Studio with you right now. He'll make his triumphant return next in Studio A here on the Common Man program on the Fan.